Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Quiet Storm Collections, where real conversations meet faith, purpose, and healing. I'm your host, Latoya Murchison, an author, faith leader, and HIV advocate. Here we create space for authentic dialogue that uplifts, empowers, and reminds you that no matter the storm, purpose still speaks. Today's conversation is powerful, personal, and with purpose. I'm honored to be joined by Christy Kennedy and Jason Kennedy. Welcome, you all. How are you doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us today.
We are doing well.
You're welcome. Christy and Jason, I'm excited to be able to talk about your walk and your purpose together. Before we dive into the questions, tell us a little about who you are and your journey as a couple in ministry.
Okay, well, I'll introduce myself first. Like I said, our name is Jason Kennedy. As far as ministry goes, it is Elder Kennedy. I don't really get into too many titles. It's just the title they gave me, but I could, titles are not as important to me as much as the work is. So I'm more concerned about that. But like I said, I love ministry. I've been in ministry since I was trying to add up the other day, and I think it's been over 20 years. And like I said, I enjoy doing ministry. My biggest thing is just wanting to see people grow from where they were. And so it's one of the reasons why I became a teacher as well, just trying to inspire somebody to be their best self. And however I could do that, inspiring them, lifting them up, or just giving them a word of encouragement or giving them a reason to smile or laugh, I think it's big. When it comes to ministry, I think that's one of the biggest things that what I love about it, because it's an opportunity to impart something into somebody's life that is a blessing to them. Like I said, I also coach football. I do all these things for basically the same reason, is to impart something into them that they may not have already, to inspire them to be their best self. So like I said, for me, I played in high school. I went to college to play, but did not play in college. And like I said, I've had a journey here. It's been a tough journey, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. So there've been some ups and downs. But like you said in your introduction, that there is always purpose in what we do. And even though there's storm, there's still, the ability to find purpose in that, and to be perfect, and to kind of grow, because every storm isn't perfect, but we can always strive to be perfect coming out of that storm. So that's the idea when it comes to me. Like I said, just love people, love seeing people smile, love seeing people laugh, and that's I think my biggest thing. If you ever get to know me, I love to laugh more than anything, and I think that's how I get on her nerves most times. I love to laugh and make her laugh if I can. So that's a little bit about me. Like I just kind of tell them what I do and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so well, my name is Christy Kennedy. I'm the wife of Mr. Jason Kennedy right here. So I have been a minister's wife for almost 9 years. I've been in, I would say, my personal ministry, financial ministry, for over 20 plus years. I just enjoy helping people understand, educate, and learn about how to be their best self, how to manage themselves, their life, their person, and how to live on purpose and live life more abundantly, and be their best self. I think that's my part in this couples ministry that we have, is just, showing people how to love themselves and love on themselves, even being a part of something as great as, serving God on a daily basis, and walking that walk is what we all strive to do. And I think you mentioned earlier about living on purpose, and being happy in that, and knowing what that is. Because once you find your purpose, when you live in it, it makes a difference in how you walk every single day. And that's what I try to encourage people to do, is be your true self, walk on purpose, and you'll, be able to, people will see that light in you and want to do the same. So that's the what I enjoy about being in ministry as a couple, and just living on purpose and being in ministry in general.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. Jason,
Mm-hmm.
accepting the call to ministry isn't easy. Can you share what that moment looked like for you? Were there any resistance or uncertainty? Uncertainty. How did God confirm your calling?
There was a lot of resistance and uncertainty because when you think about, and which is, well, that's a whole nother topic, but there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to it because I think most people find glory in the position, and I did not see any glory in the position. I was trying to hide from as much as possible because I didn't feel like I was worthy. I didn't feel like I deserved to be in this position or even be called for this, and so I hid from it as long as I could. I ran, I did everything I could to get away from it and tried to avoid it. But hearing the call, I was I was in a point in my life where I was just reading the Bible every day. Every time I would, was had free time, I was just reading the Word, and so I began to read, and God began to show me in a dream where I was running from something, but I could never escape it. As fast as I was, I thought I could get away from it. I never could get away from it. And so I kept running and kept running. And finally, there was a dream I had where I ran outside and I was trying to get away from something. I ran under something and I got back to my vehicle. And when I picked my vehicle up, I stopped in the middle of somewhere and I said, how in the world did I pick my truck up and run with it? And when I stopped, I looked underneath my arm and I had a Bible under my arm. And
Wow.
In that moment, I remember hearing God say that you had the word, but you were running with it. And so it was that moment where God was saying, stop. And I still didn't answer the call even after that. So I'm still like, okay, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? And so eventually I got to a place where I was reading his word one night. Everybody was in revival. It was at church. And I was just at home because I had to work third shift. And I'm reading in the word. And God tells me to go over to Romans 10. I think I want to say it's 15. And it said, oh, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel. And I was like, okay, Lord. And I heard it again. I was like, and something said, read it again. So I read it again. And I read it again. So I ended up reading it 3 times. And after that, I just stopped. And I said, okay, Lord, what are you trying to tell me? And I heard a voice clearly. And I was telling people in Sunday school on Sunday morning, the one thing people can't take away from you is your experience. And so I know that I said, then I heard the voice of God say that I called you to preach. And I was like, oh Lord, I was like, I can't run anymore. And so that's what inspired me to, I would say inspired me. That's what kind of, said, okay, now we got to go. And so then I accepted the call into ministry. Then I went and talked to my dad, talked to my mom, and talked to one of my dad's best friends. And they were like, well, son, everybody's been waiting on you. We knew it's what you were called for. We just been waiting on you because it's not anybody's place to tell you that you should be in ministry. And I think we fail at that sometimes as pastors and leaders is we try to tell somebody you should be in ministry. If they haven't heard it from God or if they haven't gotten that confirmation from the Lord, then that's not something you should try to enter into because of the burden that it carries. I see a burden from it, which I think is why I was trying to not go into ministry, because you have now the power to impart words into somebody's life to either inspire them or to harm them or whatever. And so I don't take that job lightly, but I think that people sometimes have gotten in there for the glory of the position as opposed to the weight of the position or, understanding, what comes along with this and the responsibility of it. And so that was my biggest focus, is understanding the responsibility of it. So yes, I ran as fast as I could run, but God would not let me escape. And I'm so glad that he did not. And I don't know how much more we get to go back into ministry, but understanding that burden in itself, I still feel that same heaviness even now. It's not a joy I find it easier to stand behind the podium than it is to prep for it. So the preparation of that is the hardest part. And that's where, because you spend time with God, and it's a lot. And I just don't think people see that sometimes. And so they jump into ministry, not fully understanding what this actually is. Because I heard somebody say the other day, when you step up into ministry, I think it was Apostle Moore who was talking about it. When you step into ministry, you make yourself vulnerable, because now the enemy sees you as a target to attack now. And so that's been my focus. Like I try to say people that when you say you're accepting ministry, you're accepting the attacks from the enemy. You're accepting a new level, a new place of challenge. And if you haven't been called by God, then you're putting yourself in a position to be attacked. And I say, for lack of a better word, ferociously by the enemy.
Amen. Christy,
Yes, ma'am.
being a minister's wife comes with its own unique journey. What has the experience been like for you, and how did you personally come to accept your role?
Okay, well, the experience has definitely been a little different. We're like I said, 9 years in, and in the beginning, I was so in awe. I'm still in awe of him, but I was just in awe of how he prepared and how he spoke. I remember the first time I saw him speak, not knowing exactly who he was in the ministry, knew he was in ministry, but not really knowing who he was in ministry. And I heard him speak the very first time. And I remember sitting on the pew and just kind of waiting for the service to start because it hadn't started yet. Just kind of, waiting for people just coming in. And I think he was doing the opening. I can't even remember. And I just heard this thunder. And I was just like, and it just like stopped me in my tracks. Like, oh, that's what we doing. This who I got. This what I'm dealing with. And I could just feel the power from him because his voice is so captivating. But understanding, I think that's when I realized, oh, I have a bigger role than what I thought I did. And more so in support of him and in his ministry, but still being an individual to be able to grow where my strengths are, in being a support, helping him organize, keeping up with his calendar, just helping him do different things that will give him what he needs so he can do his part, not have to worry about the small parts of it. I think one of the biggest things that shocked me more than anything else was just how versatile he is. And he can go into the pulpit and be Elder Jason Kennedy, and in 2 minutes he's back to joking and playing, and I just be like, what, you just up there and just gave that powerful word and just was just like, and then you come back to being my husband. So it was an adjustment. It was a fun adjustment, but now I'm really used to him being able to transition from who he is, in Christ, and being on the pulpit to my husband Jason, where he's fun loving and funny and and affectionate and all those different things. So it's definitely been a journey, but I have really enjoyed the entire process.
What are some common misconceptions people have about being a minister's wife? And how do you maintain your identity while still supporting your husband's calling?
I think one misconception is that because he's the preacher, I'm the preacher.
Mm.
I am not a preacher. I have not been called to preach. So that's not what I'm looking for. That's not my role in this relationship. And I think that a lot of couples do that. A lot of couples are in it together where, both are preachers or whatever it may be, but that's not my role. My strength is administration, so like I said, I help guide him. I help do the things that he needs to kind of make sure he stays on track with what he does. And what was the second question?
Oh gosh, girl. Hold on. I done got away from the question. Ooh. Just how do you support his calling?
Yeah, like I said, his calling. I'm just there for him when he needs it. If he goes places, I go. I make sure he has the water, change the clothes, different things, so that he don't got to worry about. Only thing I want him to focus on is, getting up there and, doing what God told him to do. And I have to worry about, oh, did I get my water? Did I get my towel? Did I get my shirt? Did I get my, those kind of things. But just, making sure that I am there for him so he can do the best job that he can do, and, do what the Lord has called him to do.
So being his strength while
Yes,
he's walking
yes,
in his calling.
yes, yes.
One of the biggest challenges in ministry is balancing family and leadership. How do you both navigate that? What intentional steps do you take to protect your family time and create boundaries?
I think that there is a tough balance there, but like she just said earlier, one of the biggest things that I think some of us forget is that we wear different hats. And
Mhm.
so I love the idea of wearing different hats because and I'll give you the scenario. I can be a dad, I can be a husband, I can be a brother, I can be a teacher, I can be a coach, I can be a minister. I wear all those different hats, and where the balance comes in is knowing when to put on which hat. And so like it's just very humorous to her to how I can minister in for an hour or whatever it is. Whenever I'm in somebody's pulpit, I can minister for an hour and then come down, and like 5 minutes later I put back on the husband hat, and she's like, well, wait a minute, didn't you? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not there anymore. I'm not in that moment at this moment, so now I am wearing this hat. And so the balance of that is that when I'm home and I come into those doors, well, I'm her husband, and that's who I need to be for her. And if there's a moment that requires me to put that hat on, well, that hat is a ministry hat on, it's ready, available. It's part of who I am. So I can always grab the hat and put it on. But that's how I balance that, is that when I'm with her, it is just me and her loving on each other. And I see her as always through the eyes of God, that she's God's daughter first, and then my wife second. And so I keep her in that place. And so therefore I value her in that. So when it comes to balancing family, it is making sure that and somebody put it's making sure that I do what I'm supposed to do in the moment I'm in, whatever moment I'm in. And so somebody put it in the idea that God has to become the center of your life, and not not behind, not to the side, not out in front. But when God becomes the center, everything you do flows from God. And so that becomes the major point of how you balance everything. So I'm a good husband because God made me a good husband. I'm a good father because God made me a good father. I'm a good coach because God made me a good coach. I'm a good teacher because God. So everything flows from God into whatever I do. So therefore, God blesses me to be able to balance that, because I can't come home and be minister and expect her to be happy all the time. If I come home and I'm, bless the Lord, hallelujah, how is everything going? Did God grace us today? Did he visit our home? Like that's or instead of just coming home saying, how you doing, honey? How are you feeling today? And making sure she's okay. And I think that's how we end up balancing that, is doing those things right there, and making sure that we are who we need to be in the moments we need to be that. And there's sometimes, like, if, and not to be in any kind of I guess humorous in this, but when it comes to the bedroom, I can't be minister in the bedroom. I mean, that's not advantageous for us, not relationship wise. I mean, I heard somebody make that humorous and say, well, every time before me and my wife go to lay down, I need to pray about it. Why? That's not I don't need to pray about that. I know who she is. So there's those moments where we have to be who we are in that moment. And so I tell everybody, navigate life moment by moment. That moment was that moment. Now I'm in another moment. How do I navigate this life? So when I'm home and I'm around the kids and I'm around the family, I understand I don't need to be ministered. Now, that does not mean I can't give them a word of encouragement. That does not mean I can't uplift them in those moments. It just means that I'm not, here. I'm not here ministering at this moment. And at the same time, really, I'm ministering all the time, because God is at the center of me, and everything I do flows from that. And so that becomes, I think, that how I balance family and ministry. I know there was something else you asked. I knew I was going to forget it. There was something.
No, you answered the question.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that I knew it was something else.
You answered the question.
But I can think what it was. How do you create boundaries? Well, it's in that same boat. I mean, that when I'm home. But like I said, if I have to shift from that, I can shift from that. But that's how you create boundaries, understanding who you are in every moment.
Mm-hmm. Christy?
I agree with what he said. Being who you are when you need to be that person, and when you need to be that person. So, but another way that I help with this is, like I said, I'm in charge of the calendar, and I'm in charge of organization. Like, we can do this day, but we might have this, so I make sure that we are where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there, whether it is a ministry event or just family time, or, working with my business, or whatever it is. And that way we can stay on track to be ourselves fully, no matter what area we are in. And he made the great point of, God being the center, so that, everything that we do, we want God to always be in the middle of it, so that we know that we are doing what we're supposed to do in him. And so that people see that we're here to help, we're here to guide, we're here to, make you feel better, or to try to help you out, whatever it may be. And being able to do that for him. And he was like, well, ask my wife what's on my calendar. Ask my wife. And that's where I can take that burden off his shoulders, of trying to figure out, well, what we got going on today. Like, let me check my calendar. And that's what I say. Let me check the calendar, see what we got going on. So, but that's kind of how we work it together.
Yeah, but she's when she says she's not in ministry, she's in ministry whether she realizes it or not. You may not, she may not be, in the pulpit or some behind somebody's podium and speaking, but she's in ministry because the word ministry is simply means to serve. And I think sometimes we really somewhere in the church have kind of skipped away from the idea of what ministry is. It is to serve. I'm not here for people to serve me. I'm here to serve them. And so she does that very well when it comes to ministry. Like I said, I don't have to worry about anything. Like I said, because one of my brothers laughs all the time. And he says, well, you better check with your boss before you do anything. And I'm like, well, what do you, and we laugh humorously about it. But that's the idea, is that she manages all of that. And so for me just to say, oh, well, yeah, I can do that, I don't know. Let me get with my wife first and make sure that everything is okay. And she does a great job. That's her ministry, is administration. So she makes sure that we are where we need to be, how, everything is in order. She knows what time we need to leave. I know how long it takes to get there. She's going to tell you what time we need to leave. So we have it all worked out. And do you have everything you need in order for us to go? So that is her ministry, is serving in that role at that moment. And like I said, and she does a great job of that, of making sure that we are flowing in what God has called us to.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes,
it does. It does.
Why is ministry so important, especially in today's world? And how is it personally impacted your life? And what do you want people to understand about the heart of ministry?
It is important because ministry from the beginning has always been, and should have always, and has always been, and should still be, about hope. Because people lose hope. And me teaching history, one of the things that made the church so popular at one point in history was because it gave people somewhere to center themselves and to find hope. It inspired people to do, and of course there's corruption also coming from that, but we won't get into that. But it inspires hope. And with that, that's the major thing I think that that ministry is there for, and why it's still important today. Because we can look around and see all things that are going on, and people are just wondering, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, the biggest thing is keep your faith in God. Keep trusting in God, and and so that's what ministry does. It leads people to a place of hope. And so you get kind of upset when you see people in ministry, or people in positions of power, draining their people instead of giving their people hope, instead of helping them understand that, we're going to get through this together. Excuse me. That is, I think, one of the major things that comes along with ministry. And what was the other part of the question?
Why does it impact, how it personally impacted you?
Oh, for me, it had, because and I would say, as a minister, you should be an advocate for hope anyway, because there have been some days, and when I say there have been some days and some moments that I wanted to throw in the towel and be done with it, but you hear a word from somebody, or somebody comes in and just says something, and it's just inspiring. Or if I just get along with God sometimes and just hear something in a song, it has been inspiring for me, because as much as I say I minister, other people minister to me. I use a scenario when I talk to my brothers that oftentimes when you think about ministers, they pour out of themselves every single Sunday or every time that they go to minister. But at the same time, you have to have a group of people around you that pour back into you. If not, you'll empty out and be, and basically just be on empty and can't be of any use to the kingdom. So ministry is that for me, because I have brothers who are around me that will encourage me, that pour back into me, even when I'm tired and when I'm going through. Because people I don't think people see the weight of ministry. So therefore, they don't understand the burden that pastors and that leaders carry. And so it gets very heavy at times. And I go back to the whenever my first wife passed away, and dealing with that, and just feeling broken for almost 2 years, just going to a place of just like, I don't even understand what's happening. I don't know which way's up, which way's down. I'm trying to go to work and trying to cry, but it was to know that God still had his hand there, and that God was still holding on to me and encouraging me and would not let me go. And so that, as much as I wanted to run and get away, because I was in that moment angry with God, I didn't want anything to do with God. I was angry. And not to say like didn't want anything to do with God. I just didn't want to be in ministry anymore, because I felt like I'd done everything God asked me to do, and he still let her die. And I was like, Lord, this ain't right. This ain't, so in those moments, so in that, ministry has become very important and a part of my heart, and part of why I love it so much is because even through that, God still smiled on me. God still, grabbed me, wrapped me up, wiped my tears away, told me to get up, dust yourself off. There's work to do. So it is, even when I stepped away, God still reached out by grace and pulled me back in. By mercy, he kept me while I was out there. And so you can't beat that understanding of God, that he loves you, even when because he understood what I was going through. And I was broken. So that's why I love it so much, is that God never forgets about us. God never leaves us. God never abandons us. It is us who abandons God. And so God is like, well, look, I still love you. In the moment that you come at God is always reaching for us. Even when we are messing up, God is still reaching us to draw us back into his arms and to hold us. And that is why I love ministry so much. Why it's so much of a big part of my heart, is because I see people hurting, I see people crying and people going through, and you just want to reach out and just hug them and just love on them. I have students that, come into the room and tears coming down their face, and I don't say anything to them, but do you need a hug? And they come in, and just in that moment, they know that somebody cares. And so I see that the same way God is with us. Like in those moments that we're hurting, we're broken the most. Like God is just saying, do you need a hug? And we just get to go into his arms and be hugged and embraced. So that's why ministry is so important, because it should be just one big hug for people who are going through. And that's why I think it's a big part of my heart. It's for that reason there.
Okay, see, he gets started preaching. Preaching.
Okay, Miss Christy. I'm trying to save myself over here. Go ahead.
Yes. So one reason why it's important to me is because it guides me. I am very analytical. I need to know what's next. A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. That's how my mind thinks. Where am I supposed to do after this? Okay, I did this. What's next? And it helps me along the way, because a lot of times we get stuck because we do too much thinking on our own. But when we seek him for guidance, he shows us the way. And that's what it has been for me all these years. Okay, you sit in the car. Sometimes you're having a bad day. You're like, hey, Lord, what do I do? Lord, what do I do? Your relationship's not going right. Your job's not going right. Your kids acting crazy. I mean, all these things going on, and you just don't know where to turn. You can always turn to him for guidance. And that's what we need in life, so that we can stay on his path, because he already knows what's going to happen. We don't. But if we seek him and know that, because he's going to guide us through it, he's going to lead us through it, show us the way how to get past whatever it is that we're going through. And that has definitely, that's definitely what I use on an everyday basis to get through, because sometimes you just get discouraged and you don't know which way to turn. And it's like, you don't know who to ask, because such and such don't know nothing about, she ain't never been through that. And such had never been through that. I can't call mama because she, she's gone. She don't really know. So who do you turn to? And that has been what I always do, is I lean on him for guidance, so that I can go the right direction and be healed and feel better. And that's just kind of solely how I live my life. It's just, okay, Lord. Sometimes I be like, oh, here she go again. Here she go again. But it keeps me, and it keeps me grounded, and it keeps me staying on track. I see that yellow brick road. I don't want to go to the left or the right. I want to stay right where he got me and follow the footsteps that he got planted for me. And that is one of the reasons why I am the way I am. And when my mind is set, and that's just what I'm going to do, because I have seek guidance. I'm not just, coming out of the blue with something, but, which is the best way to go? The Lord has led me. So, and that's just what one of the reasons why it's so important to me, because it keeps me on track. So, yes.
To follow up with what you both have said, what is one song that sends you into worship, and why?
I'm not good at remembering songs, but oh man, because the brother sings it at church all the time. what is the name? I see because there's so many songs that float through my mind, and
Right. Ask
I've
for a song. Okay.
I will give you somebody's music that I enjoy.
Okay.
Oftentimes, when I'm going to study, I'm trying to prepare for a message, something like
Mhm.
that. I will turn on like Chandler Moore, and just it's just worship. It's just so I just listen to that, and there are some songs he has in there that are so impactful that I just stop, and sometimes I've cried over. I was just like, wow,
Amen.
like that
Mm-hmm.
was just hearing the words and those words being able to
Mm-hmm.
minister to me. Like I said, I think my wife loves. I can't. I'll let her tell her song. I think she probably has.
You probably can remember it because I'm sitting here, my mind went blank talking about the song. I can't
That
remember
there
that song.
was, and I don't know if it's. I guess depending on your definition of worship, but she has a song I think by Corinne Hawthorne. I can't think of it. She heard it I think one morning. It was just like, who sang that song? I love that. I gotta have. We were riding to work one day, and she recorded it, and I just can't. She's got it in her phone. I know that.
Yes,
And so
yes.
that's where. But that's the biggest thing for me is I love hearing that level of just worship there because it's just one song that just talks about God just loving me, just loving me in spite of, and just God still reaching for me, and God just, I know I messed up, but God's still reaching for, and I can't remember, I wish I knew the name of it. I heard it and was sending it to people like y'all need to hear this song, and it just inspired me so much. My brother we sang so many different songs at church, and our worship leaders do such a great job of that, and they but I'll say this one of the songs for me that I hold dear to my heart is that when God was I think Shekinah Glory sings it, and it was I think it's the same name of the song is Yes. And
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was laying there and I kept wondering, God, where are you taking me next? Well, what is next for me? And so I lay there one morning. I was working third shift, I think at the time we were driving a bus, and I woke up and went to sleep. I woke up and that song was playing, and it says that my heart will say yes, and all I could hear was just saying yes. And after that song went off, I went right. Then the song started saying, "I'm calling you higher. I'm calling you higher." And literally after that part of the song went off, I went right back out and I was asleep. And I woke up after that and was like, Lord, what in the world just happened here? And God
Right.
was telling me that I'm calling you higher. And
Mhm.
every time I hear that song, it reminds me of God saying, there's more work for you to do. You cannot stay in the place that you're in. You have to come up higher. And so I remember God pulling me to higher from hearing that. And I just lay there just thinking like, Lord, okay, I don't want to go, but I guess I have to. But that's just a reminder of how good God is. Even through music, he just speaks to us and encourages us in so many ways. And so I know that song by Shekinah Glory has been one of those. And I love listening to Chandler Moore. If I got to go somewhere, I want to play worship, I'm gonna listen to that and just let whatever comes through the radio be the thing that blesses me.
I can't think of the name of the lady who sings it, but no, she says that you will win. I'm just ambitious in life. And like I said earlier, sometimes you get discouraged and you're wondering why things going the way that they're going. And it was like, you will win, and that song just really touched me. And every time I hear it, it brings me joy knowing that, because I do have God on my side, I will win. And it lifts me up when I am feeling down, because sometimes I just be like, okay, Lord, what we doing right now? Like, what's going on? Like, I can't, have no control over anything, and
Right.
but I'm just like in a whirlwind trying to figure it out. And but that song just kind of helps me know that you will win in the end.
I know who it is. I just can't think
Mm.
of
Yeah, yes, that was a good question, though, Toy. That really keeps us on our toes right there. Now. Yeah, think of a
Well,
song, girl.
listening to y'all up to this point, it reminds me of the song that's been playing on my heart for about 2 weeks now,
Uh-huh.
and that's "Safe in His Arms" by Milton Brunson.
Okay,
And that
okay,
reminds
okay.
me of y'all because y'all are definitely safe in His arms.
Yes, yes. Thank you, girl. Thank you, thank you. Yes, yes.
One last question for
it.
anyone listening who may be struggling with their calling, their role, or their faith. What words of encouragement would you share?
To someone struggling with their calling and their faith, I would encourage them to, because I think there are times where we have to tune out everything
Mm.
else. And I remember telling my wife that we was talking, I'm on, I think last night or so, and we were just, yeah, I think it was last night. And I was just telling her that one of my sisters in church, Dr. Tashima Hackett, matter of fact, she said you need to take time today and just every day and just take 5 minutes and just turn off everything. Don't say nothing. Don't listen to anything. Don't read anything. Just close your eyes and just tune into the voice of God for just 5 minutes. You may not hear anything in the first 2 minutes. You may not hear anything. Just take that time and just listen, because God is always guiding us. It's just that there's so many things coming into our minds that it gets overcluttered. And so therefore God's voice gets lost in it. And the thing about God is he's such a gentleman that he won't overrun anything else that you have in your head. He's not going to force his way in. You have to let him in. You have to open the door. And so in those moments where you can just be quiet and just hear God and just trust that God is speaking to you, and she began to guide me and say, just begin to write down whatever God is telling you in that moment and let that guide you. So I would encourage somebody by saying that the journey is not it's not a 100-meter dash. It's not it's a marathon. And there are going to be some times where you're weary and you're tired. But even in those moments, if you remember the old plaque or the old poem you said out there called Footsteps, and it's that when, and it said that there were times in his life when he saw him and God walking together down the beach, and then there were times when he only saw one set of footprints. He said, in my toughest times of my life, I only saw one set of footsteps, saying, Lord, you abandoned me. And he would said, no, I didn't abandon you. It was in those moments that I carried you. And so that becomes the idea behind when you're going through, is that you're not alone. God is carrying you, because there have been some days that you didn't feel like you get up, and yet you still got up. You still kept moving. And that is because in those moments, God is embracing you and carrying you to your destiny. And so I would encourage whoever that is going through is to keep your hand in God's hand. And sometimes it may feel like he's dragging you along, but you keep your hand in his hands and you keep going, because every day won't be rain. Every day it won't rain all the time. And I remember my brother, we was walking around Sam's one day and I'm on the phone with him, and he said, do you know that the rain must cease? And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, the rain has to stop. I was like, what do you? He said, understand that even when we looked at Noah, God said he would not destroy the world by rain again. Said, so you've got to understand for yourself that the rain will stop. It has to cease. The sun will show up. He said in the morning, you know what I'm saying? And that becomes the idea, is if you can just press through the night, that joy comes in the morning. And so that is the idea. What they're, I think, experiencing in those moments is nighttime. And but if they'll remember in their lives and think on the idea that it is darkest right before dawn. And if you can grab a hold of that concept, that you know what, it might be really dark right now, but that's just a signal to me that God's getting ready to bring me into something greater, that God's getting ready to take me higher. And so I would encourage them by saying, just hold on, keep your head up, keep the faith. And please understand this, there is not a perfect person that is walking this walk that has not made a mistake, that has not fallen, had to get up and dust themselves off. If you tell me that, then I don't want to hear much from you if you tell me you were perfect in your walk, because how can you minister to somebody if you haven't been through anything? So therefore, you go through things, and oftentimes it wasn't meant for you when you went through it. God is taking you through that somebody else will be encouraged by your walk. And so that is sometimes what encourages me, that when it gets heavy, sometimes it's just like, Lord have mercy, what do I do? And sometimes you have to realize, this ain't for me. God is taking me to somewhere else. God is doing something greater. God is doing something more. And that is the encouragement I would give them on today, is that we've all been down before. We've all been in turmoil before. Me and my wife have had our issues before. We've gone through some of this. I mean, like I said, because we don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. That's just, she's this way, I'm this way. So we don't see eye to eye, but we're headed in the same direction. We have the exact same mission, the exact same goal, and we're going to accomplish that goal. But so sometimes it seems tough, but I know at the end of the day, her heart is set on the mission of being who God has called us to be. And we're going to walk together. And so I would encourage anybody that to stick it out, to hang in there, because anything that comes easy ain't worth it. And if you put some time into it, you'll value it whenever you get it. So keep fighting. But the reason why I went through my ministry is because I was broken and God still called me back to it. I had to fight to get back in that place. And so I can't just throw this away at any whim. And so that is the encouragement, is to keep fighting. Pick up your sword, gird up your loins, put on your breastplate, your helmet of righteousness, shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel. Get yourself ready for battle. Put your sword in your sheath and get ready to go out. Get your shield and get ready to go out to battle, because you're in a battle. So make sure you're dressed for the battle, because it is going to happen, and this won't be the last time. It'll be another time. But one thing you have to remember is that the last time you made it through, you didn't think you were, but you did, and you're here now. So that is proof that God is still working on your side. He has never lost a battle. And if you have him on your side, you can guarantee you're going to win.
Amen.
And that's it. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I ain't nothing else I can add to that.
And let the church say amen.
Amen. Exactly.
This
But one
conversation.
thing I can say, Toya, is having that encouragement in my life on a regular basis has really helped me be a better person. So sometimes I just don't feel myself, like I'm doing enough, like I'm being enough, and I sit down with me and Jason talk, and he encourages me to, seek God, and, we talk things out, and that has really helped me become a better person and be able to help other people more get through things that I never thought that I would be able to help other people through. But because of him guiding me and showing me, I'm able to minister to other people, some of the same things that they're going through, because of his, his encouraging words. And I have a little area on my phone that I call Jasonisms, because we can be just sitting somewhere talking, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good, and I just put it in my phone so I can save it for later. Because he just say some things sometimes, and I just be like, that make perfect sense. Like, why didn't I think of that? But I wasn't meant to think of that, So, but yeah, so just he's definitely a great encourager, and he kind of keeps me on my toes. That's for sure.
This conversation is such a reminder that purpose requires surrender, partnership, and faith. Your journey shows us that ministry isn't just a title, it's a lifestyle rooted in love, service, and obedience. Thank you for tuning in to Toya's Quiet Storm Collections. If this conversation blessed you, make sure you share, subscribe, and like. Whew. With someone that needs this message. Remember, even in the storm, purpose still speaks. I'm Latoya Murchison, and I will see you next time. Have a good night.